How you doing?
Yo, you guys, thank you guys for coming in. So we got Spencer, aka Big Cats, and Claire. You guys have many titles, but most recently Apollo Hills.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you guys for coming in.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having us.
Of course. So you just started a super group of sorts.
Yeah. All two of us started a super group.
A super duo. Released an EP. First question: what is going on with the Timberwolves, my lord?
Oh my god.
Too much. Too much is going on
Too
with
much somehow, both at the same time.
So, I heard a rumor today that Jimmy Butler was A, in town, and B, hooping at the downtown Lifetime.
Which is in the Target Center.
Correct.
That's the pettiest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
I heard a rumor that
really
he was
hope
just like
that's true.
getting in some runs over the lunch break.
Sources
at
say,
Lifetime.
I think he had like his physical here.
Yeah, maybe he still has to do his physical with the team he's currently on. Even
Right.
yeah.
But I it's a disaster. dude.
I don't know. I mean, I have strong feelings about the Timberwolves. Sometimes those feelings represent love. Sometimes those feelings represent wanting to bang my head against the wall. I think they're a hard team to love.
Yeah.
But they're the hometown team, so that's what we got.
I love the Timberwolves, and I would also love to have any excuse to root for literally any other NBA team.
Dude, Ricky Rubio used to be one of us.
Well,
You can adopt this team. This is my number 2 right now.
I might
I'm
just,
going
like,
strong for the
I
team.
live in Los Angeles,
Yeah,
and we
see?
just got LeBron. So,
Yeah.
and I say we because I'm adopting the Lakers as my
Oh God.
alternate
He's
team.
going Hollywood on us. And I saw you got the Minneapolis Lakers
did.
LeBron
The
knockoff.
bootleg.
Like
The second he
36
signed.
hours after he
It was
signed,
really
you just
like
had like this janky
the-
knockoff.
The ink wasn't even dry on the contract before I was like on eBay looking for like janky like LeBron knockoffs because I didn't want the real deal because it's really expensive. So I was specifically looking for a bootleg.
And you don't have the sponsor on it either.
No,
right?
it's just straight up like
no corporate dollars.
yeah.
None of them.
But I'm actually like my loyalty in the NBA in general, I would say is like number 1 LeBron James, number 2 like anything else ever after that.
We were having
So-
such nice off-mic conversation. And you say stuff like that, and
Yeah,
then I go, "Oh, no."
I really love him.
I understand.
I love him.
LeBron is tight though. That came off kind of harsh. I'm sorry.
No, I mean I understand like it's not fun to root for like the best guy. Like I get that.
No, it is. It's great.
But
I
I
would
love
love to be
him.
able to do that someday. Because
I-
I've been a Wolves fan since like 95, and it was fun for 1 year.
03, 04?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like in high school.
I think between the 3 of us, there's been like 800 Wolves tweets.
Oh, you mean
At a
between me and me, and
Yeah.
then between the rest of the 2 of you, there's probably at least 800 more.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, well, there goes our Wolves talk. Our heart rates are up. We're mad. Let's talk about the
They're
music.
never gonna invite me to a game for free ever again. I'm sorry.
What are you gonna do?
You can sing the national anthem.
I mean, I could in theory. I don't know how good of a job I would do.
You did a great job on Apollo Hills, the new EP on
There it
streaming
is.
services right
Thank
now.
you
Please
so
stream it,
much.
add it, buy the vinyl, buy the cassette.
Yeah, both of those things that don't exist. Listen to it on Spotify.
So individually, you two got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Claire, you got Tiny Desk.
Yeah.
Spencer, every local rapper, artist that is somebody that's good has a beat or a project from you.
This is true.
So how
Thank you.
did these two entities come together?
In like 2008.
I've been
Probably.
friends with Spencer with Big Cat since I think I met him in 2008 or 2009. I have guested and sang on like most of the projects that he's done up until now, and we've always been like we should do a thing together. But it's like in music, especially when you have friends that you've had for a number of years, it's almost like a joke at a certain point that you're like we should do a thing together. Like we've been talking about this for literally 10 years, and then eventually we just really made a thing. Finally.
Yeah, I think we made that record in like a day or two when
Yeah.
you were home from LA for a minute.
Yeah.
After working together on various things for like a decade.
Yeah.
We just decided to sit down and make a record finally.
So did you guys have like stuff in like the vault or like from like throughout the years? Or like this is like your first time
No.
actually
No.
sitting down in the studio? Like let's do it.
No, when I first moved to LA, like he had sent me, we had talked about like, okay, let's finally do this. Like Tiny Desk had just finished recording our next record, and I knew it was going to be a long time before it came out because we had just signed to a label, and everything takes forever with a label. So I was like, I have a bunch of time. I don't have a job yet. I just moved to LA. Like, if you ever want to like send me stuff. And he's like, yeah, actually I made a bunch of beats that like might be good for you. And when he sent them to me, I was staying in an Airstream trailer in the backyard of the house
I didn't know that part.
That's amazing.
Which reminded me of like a little so spaceship because it was like this little like metal contained thing in this backyard in LA. And I had like very few friends and I didn't like have much going on. So I was just sitting in there. And it was also incidentally the only place in the house that had an air conditioning unit. So I was just like holed up with this air conditioned Airstream trailer, like writing to these beats for a few weeks.
That's crazy to me because when I listen to the project, I mean, it's 3 songs, it's brief. It sounds very isolated and Western-y kind of.
Yeah.
And that's what I got. And like maybe because I was influenced by the album artwork, you know, like the visual and the sonic mediums kind of work together. But it sounds like you were in that situation. If I had to say where was this created, I'd be like, oh yeah, in an Airstream and like the West Coast type thing.
Nicely done.
Yeah. Well, and then with so the beats, there was no like. So this is like a hey, I'm gonna send you some heat type situation.
Like I sat down and made the beats, sent them to Claire. She wrote to him, and then we got back together and kind of workshop stuff, and then we were together for the recording and editing and mixing and stuff.
So like the thesis statement, you didn't send him like a. This is kind of like the vibe I'm going for. You just kind of had him. And
we've just known each other for so long. I think that's the cool thing about this band is that like. When you're friends with someone for 10 years, I think you just have, especially when we've been collaborating those whole 10 years, just not like on a specific band that's our thing, but like you just have a really clear understanding, I think, of like what the other person's into, what they would like, what they wouldn't like. And so it's like a really solid foundation to create stuff. Cause it wasn't like he sent me anything that I was just like, what, this is so not my vibe, you know?
Well, maybe he should have pushed you creatively. Why can't say no to anything?
I mean, I think his music is a little challenging. Like, it's definitely not like it doesn't like it. You wouldn't write like a bubblegum pop song over anything that Spencer makes. You know, it's definitely going to push you to be like the most artistic, most interesting version of yourself. I think so.
How'd you decide what to write to then? Was it just a vibe? You heard the beat, you're like, oh, I could try this. Or...
Yeah, I sort of just write to whatever I'm like inspired by or feeling at the moment. You know, I mean, just whatever like I'm going through or whatever is in my mind or sometimes a lot of times like the sound of the beat or whatever mood it elicits I kind of get a mood or a vibe from it. And I'm like, okay, it's going to fall like in this general wheelhouse and then, you know, right from there. But
cool.
Yeah.
So Spencer, so same question to you, but like instrumentally, where did you decide to, how'd you arrive at the decisions you made creatively?
Sure. I think with Claire's stuff, just the way that she tends to write things, there's a lot of space in her melodies. Things develop over longer stretches of time. It's not super aggressive in terms of like percussion and stuff like that. So building a lot of like lush pad kind of arrangements, giving things lots of time to develop and go off in different directions, that kind of stuff.
This is the decade of friendship right here.
I know.
My heart's warm.
I know. As he was talking, I was like, I fucking love it. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's edited.
I love
it's pre-recorded.
Like, he's so awesome. I'm so lucky.
That's incredible. Is there plans for, can we have more? It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. We actually just were working on some stuff a couple days ago. Mm-hmm. So there will be more for sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, I think for both of us, the other nice thing about this project is that, you know, we both have like our bread and butter projects that are like, you know, feeding us.
Yeah.
And so this is like something that can just really be a passion project and kind of it happens at its own pace. And a really annoying thing about doing this job professionally is that it's, you know, there's a schedule and people expect things at a certain time. And if you're working, you know, with like a label or a team or whatever, they're like, okay, where's the next one? But like with something that you're just doing for the love of it, you can really sort of do it on your own timeline and like when it feels natural, which is a really nice luxury to have.
Okay, so I'm going to say local musician. There's kind of like that's kind of can be pejorative at times. The saying is people that are like popping in the Twin Cities. Do you feel like once you get to a certain level, like the collaboration kind of gets tougher because there's more expected from you? Or
I don't think anyone is really like checking for us that hard. I don't know, like where it would be pressure.
I go out of my way to only work with people that I actually like.
Yeah.
So I think that addresses a lot of it for me. Like I would be hanging out with the people that I work with, even if we weren't working on music usually, whether it's Claire or Chance or Quante or anybody that I work with. And so that eliminates a lot of that like stress or pressure or obligation to me because it's primarily or first and foremost, it's fun and we both want to be doing it and we just like being around each other. So your focus is not on like, oh, we need to accomplish this by this date, or someone is expecting this of us, or we're obligated to do X, Y, and Z. It's just sort of like, let's hang out and make music.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like I know Kanye's like a hot button guy right now, but it kind of reminds me of like the Wyoming sessions, how like the whole objective was to just bring people out there, record and have fun again, kind of get that DIY spirit back.
Well, and that's at that level, I mean, that's a really hard thing to capture when you are someone like Kanye and other people are literally relying on you to eat. Like that's a very different scenario, you know, and like lots of people, and there are companies who you're making billions of dollars for. Like, yeah, you gotta like find the time to actually be creative and not think about that stuff. Right?
Yeah. Or it could be an excuse for why those albums were kind of bad.
Well, I was trying to give him some credit, but yes, that album was not any good.
Yeah. Kids See Ghosts was kind of tight.
That's a real phenomenon though. Like when people have been, you know, in the limelight for a long time, you do see often, not always, there are exceptions to the rule, and I'm always very impressed by the exceptions to the rule, but you do see like a decline in quality of their art a lot of times because maybe they get too in their heads about what they're doing. There are too many like cooks in the kitchen, or maybe they get like a little out of touch with like who they were when they were first creating and why they got into music or art or whatever. But luckily or not luckily, we're not at that point. So
that's great.
We don't have the problem of not relating to the average person.
We can relate. We can definitely relate.
That's a great point, because I was going to come up with like the whole classic, like you get your whole lifetime to write your first album and then like 2 years to do the second.
Yeah.
Perhaps that has something to do with fame and notoriety. Like you kind of lose touch once you're surrounded with a brand name.
I think that's absolutely what happened with Kanye specifically.
For
like,
sure.
A few records in, I'd just put it on and be like, bro, I don't know what you're talking about anymore.
Yeah.
Like I just don't have these problems or these experiences that I guess are problems and experiences of yours, but like I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I mean, I love Yeezus. I think that sonically it's great, but I'll listen to it lyrically, I'm like, ooh, I can't relate to that. I don't know what it's like to be in that situation.
I get that you're angry about something, but that's about all I got here.
The only record in that category that I thought was like immensely successful was Watch the Throne.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just because at that time they had really good chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think their chemistry is like probably what made that record work. But the subject matter is just like literally 4 people on Earth can relate to that.
Yeah, Opulence and Decadence and Basquiat's.
And at least they made it fun though.
Yeah, it was fun. It was lighthearted. It didn't take itself too seriously. It was like, we're really rich and like having a really good time with it.
I could relate to the two of them having fun making a record together.
Yeah,
Even if I couldn't relate to the things that they were actually talking about.
They did have some social discussion on that too, a little bit.
Yeah,
briefly.
there were some songs like
mostly
Murder to Excellence and stuff. There
Woke
were,
adjacent.
Yeah. It was mostly 2 guys having fun making music, which is what it should be though, right?
Yeah.
So being local cats, I have a story. Can I share it with you?
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Freshman year of college. It involves both of you at separate times.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's about to get creepy.
Excited.
Nice.
So freshman year of college, 7th Street entry. I saw the Chalice, changed my life.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Cool.
Like I was making struggle bedroom beats, and seeing you guys out there having fun doing your own thing kind of inspired me to like keep going.
That's amazing.
And like to do it.
Cool.
Speaking of struggle beats, in high school, I used to DM you and talk at like driving Big Cat shows, and you would put me on the free game, you and Hooks, and I would not be interviewing you like here right now if it weren't for you two at separate
That's
points.
so
like, that's
amazing.
How cool like the scene is.
I'm retired.
That's great.
So-
That's always fun to
You
hear.
about to say something.
We were DMing about this interview, and I just scrolled up a little bit, and the last DM we had was from like 2009 or something, and it was you asking me about like chopping up a sample or something. Like, how do you do this thing in FL or something?
I figured it out. I know you didn't respond. You curved me. But you also sent me some stickers.
I was like, who's this dude? And also, I don't use Fruity Loops.
That's amazing.
I'm still an amateur, all right? I'm not
I'm not hating. I'm just saying there are things I
That's
don't
so
know.
crazy. That show was really fun. That's so cool that you were there.
Oh, it was great.
That was like one of the more fun shows we played, I think, because I'm not like selling out the entry is like, you know, an impossible feat or whatever, but I don't think any of us had ever done that with any other project. And we were like hoping, but we didn't think it was going to happen. And I distinctly remember being in that basement and like the moment when someone came and told us that it was sold out. It's just like, there's like little mini milestones in your career that like, they will never have the same impact a second time, or even if they had happened later in a broader context. But the moment when they happen, like your first sold out show, your first time you hear yourself on the radio, like you'll never forget like those moments. And that was the first sold out show I ever played. And I remember being like, this is such a cool moment.
That's awesome.
A sold out entry is a very specific vibe too.
Yeah.
Like when you're in there and literally can't walk through the crowd because everyone's just like shoulder to shoulder.
There's that pinch point between like the stage and like that one
those
step
stairs.
up.
Yeah.
The stairs. The one stair over there that no one ever sees after about 11 p.m. because it's full and everyone's drunk.
And then like the merch tables are right there. There's shirts everywhere. Probably some blood.
I saw a dude trip up those stairs and face plant through the merch table once.
It was me. That's why I passed out.
Oh my god.
It was years ago. I'm pretty sure it wasn't you.
That's awesome.
So the question with that story is, being in like the Twin City scene specifically, who were some of those people for you that kind of took you under your wing, or were there any that kind of helped you out on like a local level that kind of helped you navigate? Who are they and what do they do?
Spencer. I mean, Big Cats. Yeah. Like when I first moved, sorry to interrupt you, but like when I first moved back here moved to Austin, Texas for a year. And before that, I had just been sort of like doing singer-songwriter stuff with acoustic guitar. And when I came back, I had like all my friends from high school had moved away. I had like, not that many friends and I had been gone for a bit. And then I came back. I knew Chris Hooks and he was just sort of like, oh, I'm working on this record with Big Cats. And I was like, oh, he's really cool. Like, and he's like, yeah, you can get on a song or two. And through that, like I ended up doing a bunch of features with a bunch of other rappers locally. And then that led me to meeting Lizzo and Sophia and forming the Chalice. And like the experience I got from the Chalice is how I ended up meeting Grant, who's my current bandmate in Tiny Desk. And so, yeah, I can pretty much credit like it traces back to Spencer.
Wow, an OG in the game. You're helping everyone in this room. My Lord.
We're like the same age, but yeah.
I would point to Brandon and Zach Bogason for sure. Big Quarters and all that associated group.
Yeah.
I met a lot of the people that I knew early on in like the producer DJ scene through Last Record Buyers, which they put on for years originally at the Dinky Towner and then at Fifth Element, now at Honey. And then they used to also run a production like class, I guess, like an after school thing at Hope Community over on Franklin with Shaka and some of those guys. Toki is definitely in that group, just in terms of like really putting a huge emphasis on building a community and not just making music or making art or doing what he was going to do, but providing like actual organized ways for other people to get involved and to make a career out of it too.
That's what it's all about, man. I hate to be like, preacher soapbox guy, but if you don't have the community, then what do you do?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's definitely something that like, cause I'm living in LA at the moment. And that's something that I do miss a lot is like, I think that there's a really special community here in that it's not, and it's a double-edged sword. Like part of the reason it's not as competitive is because there's not as many things to compete for as far as like commercial opportunities or whatever it may be. But that creates like this little bubble, sort of like utopia where, artists can live cheaply. So they kind of gravitate here and they can work on art full time and afford it. And so everyone's like spending all their time making art and they're not competing. They're like supporting each other and everyone's really collaborative. And it's this sort of like artistic utopia, situation, which is like, I don't think I understood necessarily how kind of unique that is. Cause it's one of those like perfect storms of like cost of living, where it's located, the musical history in this town, the city really, prioritizes the arts here. And there's a lot of like support for that. There's a lot of really good arts organizations and like radio stations who support local music. So I think that
what's poppin'?
Yeah. It's like that perfect storm of a place that makes it very pleasant, like very wonderful place to be a musician. And it's definitely something that I miss living in LA.
Is it kind of like a rat race in LA?
A little bit. I mean, I think people, it's Hollywood to a degree. So, it's like the priorities of why people are there and kind of what they're after are different. Like the things that get rewarded are like all my friends here who were like the most pop-in musicians who people were like really like stoked about are like dads. You know what I mean? With like 2 kids who like, teach guitar lessons on the side or whatever,
Staying in the game though.
Yeah.
They're staying in the game.
But like they're like prodigious musicians who make really interesting art. So they're cool here. You know what I mean? Versus like in LA, a lot of times I'll be like, wait, who is this band? And it's like, oh, it's the so-and-so from this TV show's daughter. And like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And
we don't have that problem here.
No. So I
was about to make a joke about the Big Bang Theory, but I couldn't think of any main characters because that show sucks.
There's like,
Got him.
there's like, I mean, LA has an amazing musical history and a very rich, I mean, like, you know, like West Coast hip hop. Like there's like so much cool stuff that's come
some
out
things
of LA.
have happened in LA over the
Yeah.
years. Mm-hmm.
So I'm not trying to like poo-poo that at all, but it's just, it definitely feels like an epicenter of commercial music in all the ways that that's good and also all the ways that that's bad. So.
Yeah, that's what the opportunities are, like the. And if you want to break into acting and stuff, I feel like nowadays, if you really want to break through, you got to do a lot of stuff. You got to be the social media star. You got to content. Have the best music since I don't know.
Yeah.
The Renaissance and then also
I know.
You gotta paint.
Yes.
You gotta be designing buildings.
Yeah.
You have to be the universal man. You have to be.
You gotta be
Where's
inventing
my
stuff.
perfume? I need to make a perfume.
You gotta be an inventor these days.
What would a Claire perfume smell like? What
Oh
tones would
gosh.
have?
Honestly, I'm kind of obsessed with scent.
Sage,
Sage.
essential oils,
Essential oils. It would
rose
probably-
water.
He's nailed it.
Sorry.
Yeah, all
Is
of
that
those
your
things.
cologne or is it?
No, that's me. That's what I would smell like. I definitely something earthy that like you could probably blend yourself if you mixed a bunch of essential oils together at the club. I really like sandalwood a lot, and this isn't a serious question. I'm answering it.
No, it's very serious, Spencer. If you have a signature scent, whether it's a home spray, a cologne, a perfume, what would a bar of soap, a body wash?
I can't
what
believe
would
how
your scent
closely
be?
he nailed mine.
I use the green Dove soap. I don't know what the name of it is.
Fresh scent, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like green smells too, dude. Eucalyptus and mint.
Get some cypress in there, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I found this Target body wash. I love the scent. It's called Method Men, and I think it's like a Wu-Tang. Like
It's called what?
Method Men.
Oh, got it. Got
Not
it.
Method Man.
Yep,
It's
yep.
Method
Because the
Men.
brand is Method, and then it's for men. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And it's
That's
like
so
it's
funny.
like an olive. If you're looking for a new body wash, gang, Target. I would love the endorsing
Can you
on this
do
one.
that on the show?
I don't know.
When you started talking about like green scented things and Method Man, I was like,
Yeah.
that's probably going in a
If
different
your
direction.
signature scent is weed, like respect.
No,
I mean,
it's
be honest with you.
Eucalyptus, but also, but mostly eucalyptus.
Eucalyptus. Too bad you can't see air quotes on the radio.
the clean stoner scent. He smells minty fresh, but also like
Eucalyptus will
tang.
get you messed up too, though, right? Aren't koalas always high?
Are they? Is
I
that
think
thing?
that's a thing.
They look really content. I don't know.
I might have
Well,
just
the
birthed a
koalas,
lie there, but
they're comfy.
Yeah, what's to be?
no, I think
Said
they're
about
like
when you're a
they're
koala.
vicious. They're just fuzzy. They just look cute. I think they have like claws and syphilis and stuff.
The koala
I'm pretty sure
syphilis.
when we're done, Google koalas.
I'm pretty.
Is it claim that all koalas have syphilis? Is that what we're claiming, or that it's like an epidemic?
I mean, I wouldn't like bet my life on it or
That's a
anything.
generalization.
How should I phrase this, Google?
But look, I've done
Slut-shaming
some
koalas.
really.
Come on now.
I've done. I didn't say it was a bad thing. I'm just saying.
do koalas?
That's gonna be the pull quote from this interview. Is like they all have claws and syphilis and stuff.
I'm about to clickbait the hell out of you guys with that.
Great.
Big Cat,
Great.
Big Cat Beat says that
Apollo.
koalas, he slut shamed a bunch of koalas on this interview. I can't believe it. Dude, first, okay, I typed in do koalas have, and then do koalas.
Our music is so like lovely and chill too, and we're just like talking about the
We'll
crazy
get back
stuff.
to Apollo Hills, but
Okay.
do koalas have syphilis? Why the heck do so many koalas have chlamydia?
Oh,
Yeah.
I was so close.
People also ask, can you get chlamydia from a koala?
Dude, claws and chlamydia would have been so much better. Also,
Yeah.
that's the name of our next record.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All of a sudden, we're on Howard Stern. It's like taking a turn. It's taking a sharp turn. That's
It's
cool.
unlikely.
That's cool
that you can get it from
that
a koala?
All STDs are one STD in your mind.
Well, you don't really want any of them.
No, it's true. It's true.
Well, so every night at 10 o'clock, we play two songs from the same artist back to back. It's called the 2 at 10. We should play some Apollo Hills.
Yeah, please do.
Great.
So I'm gonna open it up to you guys. What song should be the first song we play?
Orion.
Okay.
All right, tell me about Orion. How did this song form? Did it involve koalas? Did it involve chlamydia?
No.
Not as far as I'm aware.
No, that was the first one I wrote, though. That was the first one I wrote to what he sent me. And I was sort of like, oh, this is a thing. Like, this sounds like a thing that doesn't sound like anything else I've done. I don't know. Like, things kind of, you never really know, like, if it's going to take its own form or if it's just going to be a song. But,
Like it was for sport? Kind of like you wanted to test yourself a little bit?
or just sort of like, I'm just going to write to this. And then it sort of like has a sound. Like, I feel like Apollo Hills kind of has a sound, which is cool.
I usually get to a point in working with somebody on like a project or a record where you get to that one song that's kind of a turning point creatively in terms of like, oh, this is what this is supposed to sound like. This is now sort of the template for the rest of the stuff that we're going to do. Or that's the benchmark that we need to hit with the rest of these. And that song was it for this EP.
So Orion is the Apollo Hills thesis statement. This is what we build the paper around.
I would say so.
I love it.
It's the best we got.
How did why come about? It's so many question words.
This one is a weird story. I wrote this song for a Johnson & Johnson commercial originally.
I didn't know that.
News
to me.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That's amazing.
That shockingly they thought was too sad for their commercial about like positive things that they were developing in the field of healthcare.
I love sad things.
Yeah, so I was like, you know who's sadder than people who cut commercials for Johnson & Johnson? My friend Claire.
It's true.
She would love this song.
I thrive in the depths of sadness. It's where I write my best stuff. This song lyrically, not about shampoo, incidentally.
Hey, look, they have a wide range of products.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest.
I'm not here. I'll drag koalas all day, but I'm not going to drag Johnson & Johnson because they pay me money.
Now I'm forgetting what it's about. No, it's about just really wanting to have answers for when things don't go the way you think they're going to, or like when relationships fall apart and whatever. And sometimes there's just no like why. There's no answer. Then you will never know. And it's just sort of like life kind of goes on and you just take what you can from situations. But I'm someone who really enjoys resolution and enjoys like a neat little bow. And I mean, I think it's our culture too. That's how stories usually end in movies. And, you know, it's that feeling of like having those unresolved questions and having to find the resolution within yourself.
We'll take that, Johnson & Johnson. Your song isn't on the radio right now, but Apollo Hills is. Why on Go 96.3, dude? So where can we keep in touch with you guys, both as individuals and as a unit?
All my stuff is at Big Cats Beats on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or all those places.
And if you DM him, he might not respond, which is...
But I might.
Jade.
It took you 9 years, bro.
Just within a decade. That's a fair response time.
Yeah.
And Claire, where are you at?
10 years minus. You can find me at Claire MPLS on all social media, or Tiny Deaths is just at Tiny Deaths.
Oh yeah, you have that thing you're promoting on your social media, so definitely check that out.
Yeah, I'm gonna just leave that to the listeners to go investigate it.
I love it, guys. Thank you. Let's take this koala combo off the air.
All right, perfect.
It is dicey.